haircut there. So, I mean, you have a cool logo like that, it's very difficult to lose. But the YFP Gaming, we've seen Nimrod on the show before as well. We've seen a few of these players too, so excited to see if they can get a win here, give themselves a chance to make it to the main event.
I'm super excited for Aid. He's a young Korean import, extremely talented, mainly hit scan, Widow Ashe, and he's confident enough to swap off of other hit scans to go to Widow. You don't usually see that. It's usually the other way around. He's part of the very famous Sinprissa Gaming roster that was beating Overwatch League teams when we had Contenders versus Overwatch League, that era happening. So Aid is very, going to be an exciting player to watch.
Yeah, and looking at their opponents, of course, Tanuki Tapire. What do you guys have to say for this team?
I mean, like how Lemon mentioned, one of our collegiate teams, right? They come in here now trying to make it into the main event. I'm trying to see like who they played in round one. For whatever reason, I think it may have been Toronto, but they had a rough start here. Yeah, so they actually played Shikigami. They actually lost Shikigami 3-0. So pretty tough start for them. In groups, both these teams lost that first round 3-0. But we saw how strong Shikigami was taking some maps off of Toronto the other day. So we'll see kind of who can, whether we get a rematch, right? I know with another rematch here against Shikigami, or we get a new one. I know with YFP potentially winning.
Yeah, the winner will be facing off against Shikigami. But for now, let's take a look at the viewer prediction. A lot of fans are going for YFP over Tanuki. Do you guys also agree with that?
Well, everyone's still in school, so all the college kids can't vote for Tanuki right now. They got class, they got better things to do apparently, but...
I mean, you don't, a lot of kids, I mean, in college, right, you should be going to class, but, I mean, some of them don't. So, I mean, I'm sure they're watching today. No class on the weekends, take the weekends off, right?
Good lesson from Matt, Mr. X, our esports caster.
Yeah.
I'm gonna root for Tanuki.
Sometimes.
I'm gonna root for Tanuki because I like their logo. All right.
Okay.
That's fair.
All right,
so that's very base, Danny.
That's very base. Thank you. All right. It's time to jump into the game. Matt and Jennifer, take it away.
Oh my God. He's my government name.
I was gonna say.
I got stunned.
Yeah, when he said Jennifer, I was like, that's an entire name right there. I mean,
I know. Thanks, Daniel.
It's reserved for like angry grandparents and stuff, right? That's like the only person who's ever called me Matthew, I think, in my lifetime. But we'll get this match underway here in just a second, kicking things off control. But take a look at the entire map set. The clash is fun to watch. I want to see somebody pick Hanaoka. We've seen Throne of Anubis. I want to see Hanaoka though.
I want to see some good gameplay no matter what. And I'm looking at J-Man. We didn't get to talk about the players of Tanuki too much, but J-Man, I think, one of the most mechanically sound people on this team. You could trust him to solo a Pharah if he needs to in an era where there's no mercies attached to that Pharah. J-Man can handle that, can even swap to the Cassidy if he wants to have an easier reload in a skirmish. So I look towards J-Man, but Tanuki's big issue when I watch their VODs is really decision making. Mechanics is never going to be something you question with them, but rather how they disengage and how they use their ultimates, which has been questionable sometimes.
Yeah, that's a little bit scary though, right? Because if you don't have the decision making all the time and maybe you have an off day, I mean, that can result in a pretty lopsided series. So it'll be Nepal to kick things off here as we get in the game. I'm curious if we see both these teams just kind of play rush. It's been really what we've seen out of both regions thus far. We saw, I know in the Face It League towards the end in EMEA, they allowed Juno. We got a sneak peek of kind of what Rush would look like there. Then now it's everywhere, right? So we'll see. It looks like at least early on, both teams looking like an Arisa setup.
I like this pick from Tanuki because Anhu really likes his Mei. I wonder if that's going to be a swap he goes to. He's also a Tracer player and a very good one. If anything, he aims his Mei like a Tracer. He really stresses me out having high sense and just being very antsy. So Anhu could be that make or break player for Tanuki. And he actually goes to the Pharah, which you don't get to see too often on Sanctum.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Chime the other day on the Mei doing some long-range damage as 8 well on the Widow right off the bat gets killed by Aurora. I mean, that's a huge pickoff right there. I mean, you're already risking it playing the Widow, right? Maybe you think they're going to have that Pharah or the Ashe on the other side, but still, the Widow's really risky here. To lose the Widow early on, that allows you to push up to the door here for Tanuki.
I like how Aid's like, yeah, that was a lucky shot. I'm just not gonna go in vision of a lady with a spear in robot form, obviously. So Aid, not worried. He's gonna just depend on his team to make that space, give him a comfortable power position to snipe from, and then Anhu will be in trouble. And Anhu already is. The firing squad from YFP came out and just took the point back immediately.
Yeah, you can see Tanuki was in a lot of trouble there because a bunch of their players kind of cowered in corners, just looking for healing and nobody around to be able to do so. And YFP, they just move on in and clean them up. So good start there for Tanuki, but they give up the point right away. So this is going to be YFP taking the lead.
And having a Widow that can play defense is an edge for Aid. And where he positions, he could play hidden and really surprise this Pharah. And it's could have caught Anhu coming out of that doorway. So Anhu now has heard where this Widow is, who can fall back for mega packs whenever, but this is important space that Tanuki need to take as a result of Aid getting out of position. And then J-Man pushes him, takes a snipe to the dome. And I told you guys you shouldn't mess with Aid.
There's almost no reason to have to push him, though. I mean, he's so far out in the spawn. I mean, no reason to have to chase Aid at that point. But let's see Luca pushing up here with the rest of YFP, gonna finish off Tanuki. So YFP, just after that first fight where he was picked off early, kind of taking control of this one. That was a Blizzard ended up using that last fight, though, for YFP, so not gonna have that available.
Now a barrage, but you have to somehow go unnoticed, and coming out of these initial doorways is what I worry about for Anhu, where Aid was repositioning the time that Anhu did that, so this could be an early pick, but right now Aid gets blocked off by Soaks. And now YFP have a Terra Surge. They're trying to take up the space, moving up, and really are stuck in a corner. Ice block used by Nevermind, and you got an orbital ray that's gonna force Aurora back. And you got a barrage that didn't really do much. A 1-for-1 trade isn't the worst. Point still for YFP at 90+%. And Tanuki have been scrapping away ever since J-Man swapped to the Tracer.
Yeah, it's going to be YFP moving off the point here for a second, but they're going to come right on back, and you're going to have the Terror Surge here. It's so difficult to dislodge that Mei as Nevermind stays alive using the Ice Block. As I say, that gets taken out, but does a fantastic job of just kind of making this one interesting here towards the end. You now have Hinged on the point as well with a rally, so maybe you consider fighting this if you're YFP.
And they do exactly that. Rally popped, keeps Luca, that very important anchor, trucking away and almost getting very aggressive, taking the 2v2. Terra Surge should be able to do some damage to this armor of Aurora, and YFP have angles around. Panthers trying to support at a distance and now has to direct their attention towards supporting themselves. YFP are gonna blizzard the tank, and Aurora can't get any help, so domination for YFP out the gates after playing a Widow for a good half of that too.
I felt bad for Aurora there, just like bullied in the corner with the blizzard. I had nothing you could really do to stay alive, even the supports at a distance. Nothing you could really kind of provide the Orisa to live in that type of scenario. So YFP, they come out with a Widow, which is a little bit different there on that point, but they still end up coming out on top. I think you expect them to play a little bit better if you play this Ashe, where you can play the Ashe with the Mei. It's a pretty strong combo.
And enabling Luca is the whole win condition for Nevermind. And as long as you don't yeet your Blizzard into a Javelin spin Orisa, you have a pretty solid win condition once that Blizzard does come online. Anhu's gonna stick to the Pharah. Now on a much more open map, it'll be easier for him, but Aid's not gonna be on the Widow this time, not the best of angles, and ended up on the Ashe anyway. See how this goes.
I feel like it's a comp advantage here, though, for YFP. Like, I think having the Ashe in play and then also having the Mei, the capability to split off the other teams. Orisa follow it up, with some damage down from the Ashe, and then also put a lot of pressure onto the Pharah as well. I feel like it's a pretty nice advantage here for YFP.
J-Man has to also show up on the Tracer if he can get at Hinged and Skier and just take their attention away from Luca. Killing the Orisa pretty much feels like it guarantees you a fight win, and you see that focus go into Luca and Aurora, and now the cards have been dealt. Tanuki is down a tank, and now the rest of the team, it's like a domino effect as soon as you kill that Orisa.
You just can't battle that Mei in that type of scenario, as Soaks just ends up just, hey guys, just kill me eventually. You're just gonna fall in that type of scenario. But it just feels like it's going to be very difficult to break on in. So now they'll actually, they won't play Mei. They'll continue with this Pharah. Then you lose the Pharah yet again. This time just a Luca. So now you're going to have to wait for the Pharah to come off of spawn. It feels like you have just so much more point control with that Mei. Unless that Pharah does insane damage, over the point, it feels like YFP Gaming's comp is just going to be way better.
You didn't even really need to wait for Anhu because this Pharah can play out an off angle, and ideally that's what you would want. But Anhu, yeah, it's just a lot of trickle damage, but against a lot of people who have sustain with Skier and Hinge protecting themselves. You got an Ice Block from Nevermind, so a target has to be Aid, who's playing inside of the point. So he's got a ceiling, he's got cover, and he's got silence on Anhu, forcing him down to the ground. Now you got the Orbital Ray used from YFP to really kick him where it hurts as soon as that Anhu Pharah was out of the picture.
Yeah, this round's not close. As YFP, if you just completely dominated, I think it's a little bit of a comp gap like we were talking about, where now you have this Blizzard to use in the choke. Anhu actually gets hit with a Javelin there. Really a dangerous scenario. Almost got picked yet again here, where you have an opportunity to throw a Blizzard in for YFP, like Blizzard plus Bob, as you see Aurora just taking loads of damage even just coming out of the choke.
And Jamin has to go to the Ashe instead of the Tracer just because you can't even get close enough to the other team when the rest of your team are trailing behind, especially if you have these 4v5 fights for Tanuki. A Barrage gets a kill, eventually traded out. YFP now have options to spare, including a rally that can just stun anyone that gets nearby. Say goodbye to J-Man as a result, and that is a very clean Nepal map for YFP, despite this being Tanuki's pick.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your tank there, right, for YFP Gaming. I mean, you kind of have both tanks traded there towards the end. But one team ends up with like a Brig and a Pharah trying to take it back. The other team's got a Mei in rally with a Brig there as well. Like, it's almost like having another tank out there. You don't even need your Orisa to be alive, and it's really difficult to break through that. Where I feel like Tanuki had an opportunity there. I just feel like that kind of maybe changed the comp up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think maybe Anhu is facing a confidence issue because in their last match against Shikigami, he played the Mei and was supporting Aurora the same way his opponents were doing that. I'm surprised Anhu didn't want to just mirror that and continued with the Pharah despite facing a lot of hit scan prowess on the other side. And Nepal's not a bad map for Pharah, but it's who you're going up against that's really going to dictate if this is something you can pull off or not. So I would have rather seen Anhu with the Mei, but the issue, or the reason why I bring up the confidence thing, is Anhu had a tough time on the Mei against Shikigami. He had 2 Blizzards eaten by a Javelin spin, which, I'll let that speak for itself. And just issues. Not ideal. Yeah, not ideal. And ult issues. That's why I brought that up for Tanuki. But that is a very easy adjustment to just simply don't throw that in it, or, just cooldown mark a bit the Orisa. I'd like to see Anhu go back to the Mei, even despite that loss against Shikigami.
Yeah, maybe they pick Nepal because they figure that they maybe don't have to play as much Mei. They can kind of play off the point, just poke down with that Pharah. But we'll take a look at some of the stats. That is a bull. Outside of that round 1, and really when you talk about round 1, it's like that first fight. I mean, that is dominant there from YFP.
And even with some early catches, like on Tanuki, when they started Sanctum, they got that first pick onto Aid. So then everyone from YFP left, 15% for Tanuki, and then that was it. And then YFP came in, stole away the real estate, evicted Tanuki immediately, which you gotta be able to maintain that presence when you're in that advantageous spot.
Yeah, so I'm curious what Tanuki will pick yet again, right? Another map selection here after losing map number 1. If they want to play more Pharah, do you play, some of the Flashpoint maps you can play some Pharah? Like, do you play something that's a little bit more open, like some of the hybrid? You play like a Blizzard World potentially. So there's some options in the pool here if you want to stay away from Mei.
And their pick, Tanuki's pick yesterday, was Junkertown against Shikigami, and that went fairly close, 3-2. And that could be easily a thing they return to if they want to keep depending on some Orisa Tracer play. But it's really about how can you make Anhu comfortable, and if you want to go towards a Mei map, there's a lot of options for that.
Yeah, you can play, like Junkertown, right, and play like some of the Widowmaker stuff if you want it. I feel like Junkertown, like it's such a, I just feel like sometimes the results are a little bit all over the place. Like even if you're a good Junkertown team, I mean we've seen it like when we talk about like a Widow can take over a game at like a Gibraltar, like that's like amplified to 100 on
against Aid. No thanks.
on Junkertown. So we'll see what they decide to end up going with. If you wanted to just mirror the Mei, right, you can play like a Runasapi, play something pretty consistent like that. So a few different options. We'll see. We have some subs actually coming in. So Jeremy, 87, come in here for Tanuki. So making a change in terms of the DPS of J-Man will go to the bench.
Which is interesting because J-Man's been their very dependable hit scan, who's been a mainstay for Tanuki, who's part of that collegiate roster. I mean, this is all the players from that Arizona State minus Soaks. So for J-Man to feel off his game, he started off on the Tracer, then went to the Ash. But when your other DPS is having a tough time, there's only so much you can do as a DPS. So Jutsu also comes in for potentially some Widow, but that's sort of Aid's thing. So we'll see what map has caused these substitutions.
Yeah, it's always curious. Okay, so it is Junkertown. So Tanuki will play Junkertown yet again. Like you mentioned, they picked it the other day. We will see it now here against YFP, where got off to a rough start there in map number 1. Need to bounce back in a big way here. In Junkertown, I mean, what's also scares me is that like a lot of times you end up with it's just slow to make any type of progress, and then all of a sudden you don't even get that first checkpoint, right? And it's one way to be down in a series and just take any type of, obviously being down in the series, you don't have a lot of momentum, but just take any opportunity, it feels like, to make a comeback out of the way.
With how good Aid's Widow was, Jutsu has some big shoes to fill, but he is also a Widow specialist. You don't get to often see teams who have 2 really good Widow players. So most of the time you have 0 good Widow players on your team. So it's quite a choice for Tanuki to go to Junkertown. When we were talking about, yes, this was their choice yesterday against Shikigami, it was fairly close, but they also didn't go up against Aid levels of Widow, or really just YFP levels of Widow.
YFP, it looks like they're going to play close up here with Luca at 8-8 on the Mei now. Is a few shots in here and on Jeremy. And he's going to have to back up. Okay, they're going to play at least to get out of the spawn. They're going to play Venture.
Just to see if he can get at these supports. The shield turns around, and at least Jeremy committed to the job. The one and done. Delete the Brig. Maybe an equation that favors Tanuki with how close their spawns are. Anhu on the Mei. I am rejoicing right now, but it's with a D.Va, which I even like playing on Junkertown because you just have these short little boost range areas. It's very good for the D.Va. Now, this open part of Junkertown is what I worry about for D.Va.
Yeah, D.Va also excels at dealing with the hit scan, right? So, having the D.Va in to make the Widow's life very difficult. I just wonder how you close this gap, right? I mean, you had no hit scan here for Tanuki, playing against a Pharah Widow combination here on Junkertown. It's gotta be really hard.
And with these changes to Junkertown, it's not as Widow friendly as it was back in my day, but Tanuki will still just play this front to back. That's what you're supposed to do with a Mei, and your D.Va can flex between peeling and just jumping on the Widow if she's accessible. And now that Jutsu and Aid are, Aurora dives in, but Aid still deals with these problems, especially if Jeremy dives in, is not always going to have an option of escape. So Aid takes over the fire role and is doing quite well, but this still will result in a cap and maybe a blizzard that wasn't necessary.
Yes, nobody able to get a touch there for YFP. So a little bit of an interesting comp here from Tanuki on Junkertown, right? A lot of people would think you're picking this to play some long-range hit scan and whatnot. They actually play Venture Mei D.Va, a combination that we don't see often. So they get control of high ground, they force the Widowmaker out, they double back down for the Ramatra, they're able to make a play. Probably didn't need that Blizzard, but just to secure that first point.
And that's that ult usage. I want Anhu to really think twice about when he uses this. If you watch him POV-wise, he plays like a Tracer, and 8 plays like an Assassin, which just barreling in and just solo barraging Jeremy. And you'll take those 1 kills with a barrage. I know everyone wants to hit the 5K on ranked, but living is what's most important when it comes to fire barrage.
Yeah, and just stopping any type of push, right? No, Tanuki sets a pretty good time taking that first checkpoint relatively fast. So YFP uses that barrage, forces them back just a little bit as 8 putting down lots of damage there from the high ground. Once Aurora starts flying, then that's when you got to get out of there. But hopefully controlling this high ground by just pumping out so much damage here from the far.
And D.Va's gonna have a hard time playing front to back against a Ramatra. She's not as good of a brawler. She's someone who doesn't want to play against the other tank, but rather dive the DPS and the supports. And if YFP keep forcing these fights into these narrow areas, Aurora and friends are gonna have time getting some headway, but it looks like YFP have allowed them to leave. Tanuki are gonna take this time to exploit this moment with the orbital ray, but Tanuki have YFP completely scattered. As you can see, the defense is behind the cart. Now the rally, to quite literally rally the troops into the position they're supposed to be in, and the damage may have been done. The Luca annihilation was nice, but Tanuki somehow ran out of gas at the later stage of this fight.
Yeah, and I'm stunned they committed some of these ultimates towards the end of this fight. Now they end up using a tectonic shock there towards the end there from Jeremy, where it felt like the fight was definitely lost. So that actually is probably because they're going to make some changes. They'll actually match a Pharah. So Pharah made D.Va here on Junkertown. Which is just
a comp of all time for sure.
Really odd. I mean, you would love like a teams play like Ashe, Widow, Cassidy. This is not a Mei map, and like you mentioned, I mean, here's a Blizzard. You don't play Mei on Nepal, but then you play Mei on Junkertown. I mean, that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think a Tracer would be a nice swap for Anhu now that this Blizzard goes 0 for 2. So, yeah, it's just not something that synchronizes well, but it's something that Anhu is confident in. And I'd like to see him get to a confident position where, not confident where he's throwing ults left and right and not hitting anything, but at least where he could contribute and find impact, even with the icicles alone. But it is YFP bunkering down defensively, a massive pulse out of Jutsu now on the Tracer, and Tanuki will eventually lose hold of this.
Yeah, it's not going to be able to get this one over the line just in this fight here for Tanuki. Is looks like gonna die there towards the end. So YFP, they'll actually move away from Pharah and go over to Echo here. This is where, I mean, you would love to see, like, it'd pick up like the hit scan again, right? I know, go back, play like a Nash, even a Widow here. There's not really, I mean, there's the defense matrix on the other side, but not a lot of other answers. I mean, they would be kind of free firing down this long sightline.
Yeah, I mean, Aid, I think the better choice would be like an Ashe. The sightlines for Widow are very bad here, but now that Aid can just fly short range with the Echo and get more burst going, if you can force the ice block out of Anhu, or if you can duel against Jeremy better, it's definitely not a bad pick, but Skier just sacrificed his life for the orbital ray, punished by Tanuki, who are encroaching on that finish line of point B. Fantastic barrage, converting 2 kills out of Jeremy, and this should lock things down depending on the Jutsu delay, which did not last long. So great job by Tanuki as they head to C.
Yeah, 2 minutes to complete the map, and a lot of times difficult to complete the entire map here on Junkertown, but they do end up holding on to their rally. Hinge decides to commit the rally there towards the end, maybe thinking that they can keep YP in the fight, but that is not the case. Is once that rally is used, just kind of falls right away. Is now that they see Widows on the other side, maybe we see some changes here from YFP, but no, they push up really fast behind this Ramatra.
This Ramatra's running it down. I love it, paired with the Juno, but the Blizzard from Anhu is what exactly can punish this. And to use it defensively as a counter option is fantastic. Tanuki can just play that bunker reactive style if YFP are going to continue to run them down, but this is still a long road ahead for Tanuki.
Yeah, as they're going to make it around this first little bend, right? But with no ultimates, really just the rally. it's very difficult to go down this home stretch. I think if you're YFP, you probably hold on to some of these, play for like a fight with like 30, 45 seconds left. Give yourself a great opportunity to hold them here.
And you want YFP to not be too aggressive. Well, now that you're duping, yeah, go ahead, but Aid may be subject to some Widow snipes depending on how good Jeremy is, which right now he's getting ran down by an annihilation from Luca. And YFP just played aggressive off of those two ultimates of the dupe and the annihilation, but Tanuki may have lost one or two, but they're still fighting for that high ground. And Aid has been let loose. Jeremy got off the Widow, not having the space to operate, and hopes to get past the tank of Luca to pressure the back. But now Aid doesn't have a lot stopping him.
Yeah, for YFP, you got to play close to the door here. You don't want to allow them just re-entry out, and that is, as good as you can get here. That's a pulse bomb onto the brig on the other side of things. So now you're gonna lose Jeremy. This is good here for YFP towards the end.
Yeah, it's just great job from YFP to hold those choke points, those doorways that Tanuki came out of. There is at least a few more meters being bought by Aurora, who has the self-destruct. Soaks is gone, and you can get a second life and can't even extend the overtime. But it was YFP that won that fight from the start, starting with the Jutsu pulse bomb on one of the supports. So you love to see it.
Yes, Tanuki makes a decent run there towards the end of the map, right? They get around that corner, but some really interesting comps. I think that's like more of a story here. Some really odd comps from Tanuki here on Junkertown, playing a lot of Mei, not really a lot of hit scans. So a little bit of a different setup than what we usually see on this map. So we'll see if we have both teams go back to a little bit more traditional hit scan here off the rip.
Yeah, Tanuki got around to point A quicker than I thought, facing against some very scary hit scans on the YFP side, but with the changes to Junkertown, Widow isn't as oppressive and as untouchable, and Aurora managed to get their way back there with the Diva with these short boosts, and it was more tumultuous for point B, especially at the end, really finding the right composition. And then eventually, once YFP let them have too much space, Tanuki had YFP's backs against the wall, and it worked out for point B.
Yeah, now with Tanuki here on defense and playing this Venture Mei, they have to play close to the door. There's no way you kind of sit back and play this type of comp here on Junkertown. You have to play close, so we'll see. Looks like actually not even going to play close to a spawn. Maybe going to play just on this first corner. So it'll be Jutsu here on the Widow coming out. Doesn't see anything. Has to have an idea now if there's going to be some shenanigans.
Aid back on the Echo, who was able to go pretty unnoticed and find these assassinations. When you land enough stiggies, get the focusing beam out. If you are isolated, just like this, Jeremy avoided getting 6 feet under by just getting a little bit underground and back to safety, and YFP gets some initial progress.
Yeah, and if you can put pressure on the Diva to not use the defense matrix and get in Jutsu's face, it feels like this is a comp for YFP that should kind of just roll Tanuki. I know what they're kind of coming out with. So Jeremy will have to burrow here. Everybody on the other side coming on in, and you've already lost the support.
Yeah, Aid is just a terror in the skies, already forcing Jeremy to burrow away and then getting a pick subsequently. This is not enough punish from Tanuki, and it's a bit more difficult to do with a Mei to play to cosplay as a hit scan that could duel against the Flyers. But this is where this is his bread and butter, is the Mei and the Tracer. And I wonder if he'd swap to the Tracer to get after Jutsu, or even the Aid. We'll see.
Yeah, or at least play the Tracer, right? With a Mei here, I don't know what, especially the walls here, the map is so large, puts a nice icicle into Jutsu at range there. Not enough to finish off the Widow though.
Yeah, your Cope is using this Blizzard, and now that you have the cart almost at the end, it's limited space, and you were trying to lock people down with the Mei wall, but how did everyone escape? Anu is surprised. I'm surprised that he didn't even at least get the brig, but she had shield bash, and no one else in sight. YFP will secure the objective as a result.
Yeah, and I think also it's going to be a little bit harder to play this type of style for Tanuki on defense, right? Because they're going to have to be aggressive and push into YFP, where YFP, they can put damage down with the Echo, and like you get a Diva low or you get a Juno low, you can finish off those players quite easily. And Aurora now will switch over to the Ramatra, be a little bit sturdier here against this Echo.
It's just a brawl and bash. As Jeremy slowly but surely at the back, Tanuki really relying on Anhu to work with Aurora to isolate Luca, who drops to the low ground, is still well connected with Hinged on the Brig, who has the rally. A lot of supportive options too for YFP. They can play this dance, they'll play behind and in front of the payload, whatever it takes to get away from Tanuki, and especially that Mei Ramatra brawl.
Yeah, as now he gets things going here for Tanuki, as that'll be Anu taking out Ski in the back line. So, see, do you decide to maybe pop? I was gonna say, do you pop like Luca's Annihilation here? But now you have both support ultimates. You'll probably play for that with the Annihilation. So you're gonna hold on to that. So Tanuki gets a very important fight win.
And YFP did it without, or YFP lost without really using ults, so they could just have a better chance. They kind of were playing a lot of runaway from Tanuki, avoiding the Mei, playing around the wall, but needing to really exploit those. Once you see those cooldowns from the Mei, that is the moment to strike in the orbital ray. A great icicle from Anhu, the headshot, both supports deleted, and YFP don't stand a chance now.
Yeah, that's within his own orbital ray that comes in from Panther. So both orbital rays gets popped. Anu gets some really big value out of it. Obviously, just going both supports on the other side. So see YFP gets slowed down yet again, allowing Tanuki to come back in terms of the ultimate economy.
This is such a tough choke point to get through, especially against a Mei comp and a Mei that has Blizzard. Jutsu on the Tracer ideally wants to get on the card, draw people's attentions away, and even offer another option, another angle of offense. Annihilation proc there from the defense. YFP, you're gonna have to respect this. Maybe you have to rotate underground. Hinged is there before the rest of the team is. Luca will back it up. Does he see Annihilation? Stopped by the Blizzard, but the flail stops Anhu from finishing off Luca, or at least being able to do more damage. So great chemistry at the end. YFP will survive, thrive, and cap point B.
Yeah, I think this is going to be enough to get that second checkpoint across the line. It looks like YFP is going to push up with a few players here, potentially prevent them from even, attempting to come back and touch, and that's enough, right? Just putting enough pressure there. It's not going to allow them to just kind of like run up, maybe just throw bodies there at the point. So 3:15. I need 81 meters here to end up winning the map here. You see that golden box of victory. Maybe it's like 2 fights probably. No, here potentially Luca gets walled off. Ooh. Nice wall there from Anu. That's going to allow Tanuki to get control.
And this is the strongest part of the map for Mei. And now that you won the initial fight, the doors are going to close. And this is going to be such a pain for YFP to get through, despite the 1 minute or 2 minute advantage that they have. It's probably going to take all of that just to get through.
Yeah, it changed though. You're going to have Luca playing the Risa here. So Risa pretty good against Ramatra, can definitely just put a lot of pressure on Ramatra at range in terms of just putting down damage, and then also dislodge him with the spear spin. So looks like they actually try and move in towards that high ground, and they do not make it.
Yeah, Anhu has been on point with these Mei walls, got one behind Hinged, and YFP had no route of escape. So YFP, if they're going to go to this Orisa, yes, the most survivable tank, but they can't sit there. They need to act, especially try to play around this Mei wall. Once she traps you in, you got to scrap for your life.
Yeah, potentially for YFP Gaming, though, you can end up using this orbital ray coming out of the spawn. You're going to see it probably on the other side, too. Like the change over to the hit scan, though. Just put some pressure onto the opposing team's healing resources, right? Constantly being a nuisance at range.
Now you got Aid duplicating the Ramatra, 2 tanks for the price of 1. Rajutsu throwing dynamites overhead, and Tanuki trying to hold some ground and even accessing the backline. Hinged and Jutsu are assassinated by Tanuki, just ignoring the Luca Aid push and just decimating all the healing that YFP could have had, and that kills the fight.
Yes, Luca actually pushes on forward. He actually lives through some of this, as a few players now will be coming off spawn here for Tanuki. A little bit of a window of opportunity here for YFP to get some payload progress, but Tanuki's did a nice job burning some time off the clock.
Can YFP get out of this choke? They'll have to wait for the Annihilation. maybe just jumping down with the terrorist surge and catching someone. Well, the ice block is well timed. Tried the full channel to terrorist surge to see if Anhu would pop out, and the Weasel does at the end. Tanuki overstayed their welcome, and YFP, it took all of that time. And I said they had 3 or something minutes, and that 3 minutes is pretty much gone.
Yes, Aid pushes up to the spawn, just trying to get maybe a cheap kill there with a far rocket. Doesn't exactly do so, as Anhu is over to the Tracer here. Knows that this is going to be last fight. Desperately needing to win this map is Tanuki, so it'll be Aurora going to D.Va, taking control of some of that high ground. But this rally from Hinge could be what decides it. The rally, plus also having a Bob, is huge, and there goes the Tracer.
Finally we get to see Anhu Tracer, and then he's dead immediately. And box of victory in sight, though. An extra man on the field with the Bob in play and no one to contest. The D.Va went for heals, and it was just great comp swaps from YFP at the end to bring out Aid on the far to force all these swaps. I thought the D.Va was gonna build up a bit more space, putting this far at bay, but YFP are built differently.
Yeah, you lose your Tracer, who's going to be like one of the other players that contest the point. It's really like the Tracer, Venture, and D.Va, and then you lose 2 of them, right? And the D.Va gets extremely low, has to go back around the corner for heals. Nothing that Aurora can really do at that time. And it's just YFP playing a really good offense there on Junkertown, making the adjustments over to some hit scan and far late to swing it in their favor.
And we have potentially one more map to go at Tanuki's choice coming up, and could be the last one. This is an elimination match. The season ends here. This is your last chance to qualify for DreamHack. And well, Tanuki found their footing eventually. The ults became more precise, looking at Anhu and how Jeremy, who just got subbed in, and how he fit into this equation. It was a serious fight out of Tanuki, but it's a YFP team that has to be respected.
Yeah, and it's one of the odder, like we talked about, comp choices and like matchups we see like on Junkertown. Typically this is like long range hit scan all the way through. Ashe, Widow, Cassidy, we even see Double Sniper still here at times. To see both teams really opt for no hit scan here, much different than we see Junkertown play. And I know some of the plays up on the high ground there, that's where Tanuki bought themselves a little bit of time back on defense.
And Aid and Jutsu have just been heating up. First, you have Aid just dive bombing on the Echo, forcing cooldowns left and right, and then Aid later on still sticking to the Echo, eventually going to the far just to suppress the spawn. Eventually, when he saw the D.Va, he had to head back, and Jutsu on the Tracer showed up with some pretty important pulse bomb kills and impact all around. Here are your stats. Good damage on the side of YFP. So many deaths too from Tanuki.
Yeah, I mean, Tanuki just takes lots of fights, right? You're playing this kind of like aggressive death ball type of style. You need to take that many fights. They do take all those fights. They just don't all go in their favor, right? You see YFP doing a good job winning a bunch of them.
And we'll wait for Tanuki's choice in a bit, but I wonder if the substitutions are going to be changed up. We had Jutsu and Jeremy make an appearance, but it all depends on where Tanuki want to potentially end the road or extend the road.
Yeah, so I know Tanuki has another map choice, potentially their last of the season. We'll see where they decide to take the series right after this quick break.
Hello, Terrence. I am Juno. It is nice to meet you. My new life on Earth has been so exciting. We have much to discuss. I have seen pictures, but Earth is so much more beautiful in person.
Watch and learn.
Oh, the sand here reminds me of home. It looks like it is made of gold.
Line and sinker.
There are some people I have been advised to avoid. Mother said all dogs were cute. Perhaps she was mistaken?
I will reap your soul.
I'm having trouble keeping track of everyone I meet. They keep changing their appearance. All right. That one is Mercy. That one is Diva. I'm so bad with names. I was worried that keeping up would be hard. But it looks like I am not the only one starting from zero. Brushing up on one's skills is always a good idea.
Always more to learn.
As the Terrans say, it is party time! My adventure has just begun! Wait, what was that?
Welcome back to the OWCS NA. This is our second match of the day. Matt Mr. X Lemon Kiwi here bringing you the action, and we got a sub. It'll be J-Man coming back in here for Tanuki Tapire, as this is their last shot here. Lemon. Well, not their last shot, but you gotta win this map, and then it's gonna be YFP's picks from here on out. I mean, this is your last chance picking a map that you feel comfortable on. It's gonna be King's Row.
Yeah, but every reverse sweep starts on an 0-2 spot. It's never over till it's over. Everyone cope with me.
Every 3-0 also starts off with a 2-0, so
Okay, you're not wrong. But hey, it's about whoever bounced back from the spot that they started in. What a stacked group that Group A is. Toronto, Shikigami, Tanuki, YFP. Like you said, this is not even, this is just the beginning of the pain you're about to experience if you want to qualify out of this group.
yeah, it's a brutal group to make it out of. YFP, they'll be on defense here. Nothing too surprising in terms of like Ash. Make good combination here. Who knows what we see from Tanuki? I mean, we've seen some interesting stuff out of them where this would be a good map to potentially play the May on. But having said that, they probably won't. I know Nepal was a really good map to play the May on. We didn't really see them play it at all, right?
If J-Man sticks to the Widow, I mean, he's probably just getting vision. I want to see Aid swap and just challenge this. This is a strong Widow map, and Aid's the kind of guy that will swap to Widow if he's feeling it. And I think he should be confident in that matchup. For now, it's going to be about enabling Luca. That was something YFP had some struggles with on Junkertown, was dealing with the Anhu Mei, so maybe trying to be proactive in choosing that Mei early. YFP will be defending for now and are respecting that space, playing around Hotel.
Yeah, I think this will be interesting how they kind of play around the Ramatra. Looks like they get a speed through the Hotel. They're going to go on a little bit of a flank here as just trying to maybe catch one of the players there from Tanuki out of the way. Ooh, they do get a roar. I mean, that is huge, right? For a second there, it looked like everyone was going to live, but then they end up losing their Arisa.
Yeah, it was like this ring around the rosy action of both teams hunting for each other's support lines, and YFP staying in a hotel had more access. And the lovely part about hotel and being in that spot is you don't always see the push coming. So that caught Tanuki's backline off guard, and Anhu couldn't find YFP as a result. So that impact wasn't there.
Yes, that'll be a fight win there for YFP. Is look, you lose your Orisa at the start, and then you're kind of stuck there. The Ramantra with the speed just comes around the corner. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. So, see now, Tanuki just makes her way here onto the point. Those spears going to be very difficult for that Ramantra to deal with.
And the shield's already been used. Attempting to overread and see if he can pre-spear the Jutsu Ash on the top window, but the orbital ray comes out very early for Skier with all the damage they took in the initial fight. This propels them to another fight win, and beautiful Maywall from Aid to secure a few more kills.
Yeah, the Mei is so crazy right now, like, especially, I mean, in Rush in general, Mei's always been crazy, but it feels like right now, especially with the orbital ray, when that comes in, and Rally, that, like, Mei's, self-survivability, so good, and then also, without, like, on-demand speed, it's a little bit harder to kind of get some of these players, like, around the opposite side of the Mei walls when those happen, as Juno's speed works a little bit different. Does this be an aura ray for Tanuki, just to move on to the point?
And this is contestable, but look at where Aid is. He could just come around back in Blizzard, but he's going to unite with the team. And I guess they were worried about Anhu having the barrage. Now that he is disengaged, the Blizzard is eaten by Aurora! That is a fumble! He just popped out of hotel, had no idea what was on the other side, just hoped and prayed the Blizzard would do all the talking for him. And the Bob is involved for Jutsu. It did some good damage, but then J-Man's Bob is there too. So Tanuki re-established, not having the numbers to get on the point quite yet, but this should be a second tick.
Yeah, Aid's still alive here up on the high ground. Gonna go down and use the ice block. Is that J-Man's Bob doesn't end up on the point, so wasn't actually gaining progress there.
Aid, yeah, that's a tough way to try and escape having the ice block and delay, trying to stop the second tick, but Aid's been in these deeper positions and has to be rescued by his team, and losing the Blizzard is a big win condition gone and time sacrifice. It did take a lot of time for Tanuki to get this done, but Aid feeling like the flyer battle might be better for him to really test J-Man on the other side.
Yeah, they'll make some changes here for YFP Gaming going into the second part of the map, but just everything had to be thrown in there for Tanuki to be able to take that first checkpoint. As now Anhu's over on the Mei, so this will be exciting to see. Is the one thing I do wonder for YFP is like the Ramantra here. I know Ramantra versus Orisa. Orisa feels pretty strong at the moment. You kind of probably play. I know one. You can probably play this composition for YFP with an Orisa in the mix, but Luca, at least for now, feels a little bit more confident here playing the ramp.
But the Annihilation takes up like the whole lane of King's Row, so plus the speed, you're just Giga Chad, Donk Walk at him, and hope for the best. And that's just gonna have to be the play for Luca now. Around this corner, is already at low health, and with the orbital ray, YFP take another fight, and it's an absolute bloodbath. YFP trying to paint the town red, and now the ults subsequently come out of Tanuki, Terra Surge, and their own orbital ray, and Soaks is close to a sound barrier, and this could help fight back against the rally. But Tanuki, as the dust settles, they have YFP on the run, and they can save that barrier for the point B final fight.
Yeah, we haven't really seen a lot of Lucio since Juno's come in. Juno seems to have kind of replaced some of the things that Lucio provided, where that is Jutsu getting chased down, getting some healing there from Skier, but not enough to survive an icicle to the dome.
Every stagger is really important though, because this card is continuing to progress, and Tanuki scrapping through this has built up ults, but Aid's on the flank, and the takeout J-Man is big. Tanuki can't waste time. 4v5 sound beer engage push towards the front. They're gonna try and ignore Aid, and if he keeps going unnoticed, that'll be a problem. At least the flail of the boops will keep Aid in his place as Tanuki barreled down the front side and will cap against the efforts of Aid here, and YFP's front line can't sustain against that.
Yes, they cannot go toe-to-toe, where I think having the Lucio... look, you play Lucio Juno because you probably feel like you have an advantage on the front line, right? You can get the Orisa into the Ramatra's face, and you're able to win that way. That's kind of the only reason you can play both of them at the same time. And, you know, layering that speed, making it easy for the Orisa to move around. So YFP still will commit to this as we got 8 on the flank here.
J-Man is gonna write a strongly worded letter to Aid, because Aid has just been all over him, assassinating him, but that is the beauty of Echo, punishing isolated players. And now, well, Tanuki are forced to pay attention to this to get Aid back away, and now this Echo dupe is sort of wasted just to get Aid into a livable position.
Yeah, I mean, you do end up losing the dupe, but it would have been worse, like, to lose Aid in general, I think.
Yeah, sure.
You would have needed Aid's damage here and just kind of threat from the high ground on the flanks to even make this next fight competitive. Luca, I mean, there's no way he's going to live.
Okay, on who? This is why he plays Mei. It's like, who cares about the wall and the ice block? Me shoot, me hit scan, basically. And Tanuki finding his stride, that confidence that we wanted to see, and now he has a blizzard for the final fight of C, and Aid's still lurking.
He's still roaming here on the flank as just now he'll be look at that, is it Lucas frozen there inside the orbital ray, and somehow YFP able to battle on through it.
And Panther's nuke was like at the spawn room door of YFP, which unaffected them. YFP threw their orbital ray onto the cart, which completely wiped Tanuki. This was supposed to be capped by Tanuki. What happened?
Yeah, just a really bizarre fight, especially when you capture the other team's tank inside of the blizzard, like basically at the spawn door. You also had the orbital ray. So now this is where I think for YFP, like the having the rally is so much better than potentially like you know, trying to build up towards a beat here. You can get really aggressive with this rally if you want.
And not having a blizzard though, like that's why that fight win was so important. Tanuki are not gonna have time to build up to that, but it all depends on this sustained Soundbearer versus Rally, a Bob in the fray for Jutsu, and it's all up to YFP to at least draw this into overtime. Worst case scenario, shouldn't be a problem. They're playing behind the cart, Luca playing his life, and stays in cover, able to get healed back up, and Tanuki step away for a second, and that's done.
Yeah, you can see on the screen, like with Aurora, they don't have a tracer or anything, right? So nobody's gonna be able to get a touch, and we're just watching it happen in real time. And then they just maybe they thought they had stepped up a little bit far enough to trigger OT, and then obviously they didn't. It's pretty bad right there. I mean, that's you know, we've seen some bad ones. That one's quite brutal. Let's take a look at it.
I think that, I wonder if Aid flew somewhere, because I saw them tweaking and looking behind them, but I don't know if it was the voices at this point. And here's Aid on the left side. Maybe he goes up to the window. Yeah, he flies above that Orisa. I saw Aurora turn around, and Aurora wanted to try and help his team because Aid has not been checked at all.
Just kind of walks away. All right. You know, he's like, oh, let me help with the Echo. And then all of a sudden, you know, these off the cart. And that was one where maybe you kind of can keep it going for Tanuki. Didn't really kind of take a look at some of the ultimates they kind of had there. I thought YFP looked much better once they switched over to the Orisa. I feel like the Orisa is definitely the better option than trying to force the Ramatra in play. So YFP on offense looks like potentially playing the Echo yet again. It's been pretty impactful throughout the series.
Still a strong push for Tanuki with their series lives on the line. It starts with some Jutsu Widow. We were a big fan of this on Junkertown, and at least when the sightlines allow it. And J-Man is probably going to play at the back window, and Soaks is profiting from these off angles, can teleport back to safety, and gets Jutsu looking the other way too.
Well, he does land a shot there on a Soaks, so just trying to find an angle here on the Widow as puts a shot on who, trying to maybe force out an ice block there. As this is the best sight line, right? If you can live from here as Jutsu, this is going to be phenomenal.
YFP, because Jutsu is such a, I was gonna say in a safe spot, but somehow Anhu is trying to 1v1 the Widow, so go off, King. We'll focus on the front line. Luca going in deep, and Tanuki have nothing really to say about the tank battle, so Jutsu may have been pressured, but Anhu should have helped Aurora against Luca.
Yeah, no, J-Man will make a switch over to Widow. I would think that Jutsu switches off of the Widow potentially here for the second part of the map. This is where you would definitely favor the sightlines for more of like an Ashe, but oh, that is J-Man with a nice shot as Jutsu tries to peek the corner.
Yeah, well, you're wrong, Matt. Or should I say Matthew?
I'm wrong there. Yeah, as Daniel Lim would say, Matthew.
Yes, you're gonna have to play pretty far back on that top middle side. If you're J-Man, you're still very spearable from Luca, very shootable from Jutsu, and now there's no Kiriko that's kind of running around either, so see how the Widow battle ensues. But I want to see Anhu lock in with Aurora. There is no opposing Mei. The threats are going to be from a distance and up high as Aid has the barrage. If Tanuki take this fight close, Aid's going to let it rain, and so he does. And man, this Juno is elusive, but that's a 2K for Aid.
Yeah, it can only be elusive for so long, though. That's the orbital array for both teams. The rocket barrage, though, right? When you're playing inside of that, we've seen it earlier in the day, you know, when NA and EMEA seems to be a pretty good combination when the other team decides to go with their orbital array, you pop your barrage. And now the advantage here for YFP is with that rally, right? They're playing the brig the entire time. Tanuki makes some changes here, so Soak's not even close to having the rally.
YFP, probably when Tanuki get close, can pop vision and assess if there's going to be any type of flank or just where the opposing Widow is, and that is the edge Jutsu needed. Now 5v4, nothing will be able to access him. Anhu's playing low, and Jutsu will be out of reach, so YFP is pedal to the metal, and this card will not stop. This will be a pretty huge tie bank, and the box of victory, the series end, is within sight.
Yeah, you don't even need to complete the map, right? I mean, you got to get pretty close, but still, you don't need a full map completion. Not even needed to use the rally there. No real fear, because it's that first pick that comes in from Jutsu, because he's got that infra sight, and you know, maybe J-Man, maybe it's just like a perfect timing, but J-Man peeks the corner as soon as the infra sight comes down. That's going to be another kill here for Jutsu.
Jutsu is at it again, but J-Man's about to get sight, so no. Jutsu is on a rampage, though. You're gonna have to start seeing very soon, and man, J-Man's vision went black. He is dead, and so are the rest of Tanuki, who are just barely holding back the storm. That is YFP, but YFP don't have DPS, so this may not be a fight that they want to take now that respawns are out.
No, I think they'll probably wait for a beat. You'll also have the opportunity to kind of come around that side and maybe land a big rocket barrage yet again, as it's pretty good with that ultimate throughout the series.
YFP, depending on how good they are at ult tracking, may just want to waste a lot of ults from Tanuki and take a more guaranteed fight, but YFP's execution has been next level. Jutsu's Widow is insane, so Jutsu, how is he going to be marked? Can go on this top high ground, and
that's your rally.
He's at it again. Now Aid's going into the back with a barrage, and this backlight's in trouble, but didn't want to pop it yet. Waits out the blizzard, and Tanuki are huge with that blizzard and Terra Surge at the same time, and Aid was going for a big play, but he's late to the party.
Yeah, I mean, comes around on a bit of a flank here. I don't know if they have enough to be able to win this. Soak's going to end up popping the rally. Gets very scared there by the Terror Surge, but it's going to be YFP having to back up just a little bit here. Not going to be able to fight that. You do have an advantage though for YFP. They have the orbital array coming into this next fight, and now they decide to use it.
Yeah, Tanuki used all their ults, but so did YFP. This orbital ray could be the kiss of death as YFP do exactly that, delivering kill after kill, and Anhu's ice block was only to delay the inevitable. YFP with a sweep that eliminates Tanuki from the season.
Yeah, as YFP, they take care of business. Really having that orbital array with nothing to the other side there. Such a massive advantage towards the end of the game. You pop that ultimate, even with the Mei wall, you just go right around it. You get all the benefits, the damage, healing, whatnot, and you take quick care of business at Tanuki.
Taking care of business, I like that. They really did. 3-0 against Tanuki, looking really good. And I gotta say, I just want to start off by saying I think Jennifer, you're right.
Yes, Daniel.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Daniel.
About Aid, you were mentioning his name at the start of the match, and I had my eyes on him. Very impressive, great player. Yeah, and you guys could call me Daniel, right, Matthew?
Yeah, sure. Go full names anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, It's something that we potentially thought, right? YFP could have a really good series. I think some of the comps from Tanuki were a little bit out at times. Like I think they could have given themselves maybe a little bit of better chance because when they kind of played something that looked a little bit more like the meta and the mirror, they actually looked pretty good, pretty competitive. I think some of their other comp choices, though, probably I would go back and look at those.
At least Tanuki went out with a bang at the end. Like, Anhu was questionable at the beginning with kind of starting an 0-2 Blizzard usage on the Mei and not really finding a stride, and having a Pharah that was present but not impactful on control, to going to Mei and becoming a sniper in itself. But Jutsu also took over the match when he got subbed in on the Widow on King's Row, especially doing his chronic impression out there, or vice versa. And Aid has been a terror no matter what. Like, the fact that Tanuki tried to ignore Aid, you can't. He's the GOAT. He was a menace in the backline on Echo.
Well, I mean, this is so odd, right? A team picks Junkertown, but then doesn't want to play hit scan. Like, it's like a really bizarre map choice in general, right? But this also sets up a YFP Shikigami match, which should be pretty awesome. I mean, both those teams feel like they have a fair shot at being able to make it out of the group, right? Feels like it should be a pretty competitive match. This fight was pretty funny because Jutsu had almost no chance winning that one, and Aid on the flank. I mean, I feel like always on the flank here on the Echo.
Didn't A get didn't A kill J-Man twice?
Yeah,
out, right?
it was me.
He was just like waiting for J-Man to come out and he got a kill. Did it again.
Like, Spawn killing him was so rude, but Aid, like,
That was smart.
also...
It's not rude.
he the payload got capped in front of him, so Aid's like, well, at least I'm gonna be annoying. And he really was.
Like, I feel like if you get spawn killed, like, I mean, nobody really
that's on you
deserves
if you
to be spawn killed, but it's kind of on you a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of on you a little bit.
I feel like Tanuki really just had to throw everything out there, but you know, it was YFP really having all the answers, and of course, the player of the match for this one goes to Aid, the player that we've been talking about.
Yeah, really strong.
Yeah, that, like, he's known for his hit scan. That's what he did. He was the Sojourn GOAT on SPG when he was beating Overwatch League teams like Shanghai Dragons at the time. But for him to flex to Echo and to just do the solo plays and just to rely on brig packs and really his own independence to make plays off the pitch and rely on his team to do the rest. Like, Aid was impactful at forcing cooldowns that constantly reset the other team.
Yeah, I feel like if Aid just like has this level of performance in their next match, which is going to be against Shikigami, I don't think it's going to be an easy match for YFP, but they could definitely put out a fight.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I know some tremendous players from Shikigami, like how we saw them take Toronto Defiant the other day to a game 5. But yeah, I mean, look, you have this type of flexibility on your team. I think for me, it's like figuring out some of the tank stuff, right? Do you continue to try and play some Ramatra? I feel like you're going to have to play the Orisa just a lot of the time. So can you see Luca play that at an entire level for, a high level for an entire series? I think they have everything else, though.
Yeah, and